Welcome to the weightlifting scoop. We've got a special guest here today. We've got the Hookgrip guy.
That's me.
All right.
James, why are you talking so funny, man?
It was like a movie, like, you know, I get the introduction of the movie, so I was kind of making it epic.
Okay, well, introduce yourself a little bit.
My name's Nat. I live in Philadelphia. I'm, a amateur photographer that's kind of turned into a very quasi full-time photographer, and I just take a lot of weightlifting pictures. I post them on Facebook. I love the sport, try to make the sport, do my part to try and make the sport more popular, and that's pretty much it. I guess my full-time job or my day job is I run and own websites that aren't really weightlifting related.
So, how did you get into weightlifting? I mean, what made you want to start taking pictures?
I got into weightlifting kind of the way a lot of people recently have gotten into weightlifting, which was through doing CrossFit. I was doing CrossFit, and at the time I was doing CrossFit in Las Vegas, and John Bros, who I'm sure most of your listeners are familiar with at least, came and did a seminar at CrossFit Las Vegas, and it was just like a weekend, like one day thing. And I went to it. I really enjoyed it. I think I sent him a follow-up email and said, hey, I want to, learn more. And I went and did some personal training sessions, and one thing led to another, and, here I am.
Well, he ended up moving into that CrossFit too, into CrossFit Las Vegas, didn't he?
Right. At the time, he was in his separate facility, which was actually part of his, granite business. He basically, in the back of his granite business, he had 3 platforms, and that's where Pat and some of those guys hit some really big lifts several years ago. But now he's actually combined with CrossFit Las Vegas.
Well, you call yourself an amateur photographer, but as far as I know, there's not many people doing what you are doing in the weightlifting community. Now, I could be wrong. Are there other people who travel internationally to take pictures of lifting?
There are a couple. I don't think there's anyone that goes to quite the range of meets that I go to, especially with the U.S. focus. There's a couple of guys in Europe that go and take some good shots, but they don't necessarily go to U.S. meets. And there are a couple, and when I say amateur photographer, I mean it's a self-taught hobby, didn't go to school for it, don't try and make my living off of it, and I just have fun with it, and that's why I call myself an amateur photographer.
Good stuff. Hey, tell us a little bit about some of your international travels. Any cool stories going to any of these weightlifting meets?
I'd love to say that I have like all sorts of great stories. The thing is that usually when I go to these, it consists of go to wherever I'm staying, hotel, apartment, whatever, go to sessions all day, struggle to find time to go to the bathroom and get food and so on, and then, go take more pictures, and then get home and charge up batteries and unload memory cards. So,
oh, I couldn't handle it. I would have to have all the sorts of bathroom breaks.
It's rough. It's actually really, bathroom breaks and getting food are difficult.
James drinks a lot of coffee, so it just goes right through him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this whole no bathroom break, that's no good. I don't even like walking too far to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you would not do well at these things.
Yeah, that's why I'm one of the weightlifters.
Yeah, you stick to lifting, and I just stick there and just see if I can hold it in.
So, did you do photography before you got into weightlifting?
A little bit. Not this seriously, but I'd always been kind of interested in it. One of my my best friend growing up, was a wedding photographer for a number of years. And so he taught me a fair amount and so on and so forth, but definitely not at this level.
So really it wasn't until weightlifting where you became really passionate about following, something and doing this. And you say it's kind of a hobby. Where you don't necessarily turn a profit doing this. It's something that you're kind of doing on the side. Is that right?
Yeah, it's not profitable. It might be someday if I decide to really monetize the eventual website I'm going to launch. And if it is, it's not like I'm going to make a ton of money from it. I mean, it might pay for trips and stuff like that. But But yeah, it's pretty much just something that I do on the side. And, I mean, I do it because I love doing it. I wouldn't, volunteer to lose money and spend a lot of time on something I didn't like. Yeah. So, like weightlifters, pretty much.
Well, I mean, that's awesome. Like, I personally have gotten a lot of photos from you, and they're great. And I'm thankful that you do this because there was one other guy, Steve Fowler, who did this for some time, but he's kind of out of the game. And so you're really the only guy that's traveling to these meets and taking pictures for us. So. Yeah,
there are a few. Steve and guys like Bruce Clemens still go to some national meets, and guys like Rob Macklem still go to some international meets and so on. But I don't think there's anyone that's going to the number of meets that I'm going to and posting the pictures with the goal of trying to get people to see them. I mean, my goal is trying to do something that really helps everyone. I mean, it helps weightlifting by kind of spreading, the kind of just like weightlifting photos to the CrossFit world. It helps weightlifters by kind of making people in the CrossFit world more aware of who they are. It probably makes their seminars more popular. It helps me because, when I tag people, it shows up in people's news feeds and I get more likes. I mean, I feel like it helps everyone.
Yeah, something that I find interesting about that too is with all these pictures that you take, you probably have a pretty good idea of how people lift and like techniques and stuff. And I'm sure that's something that you picked up. I know we were talking about this earlier at the gym, how you notice how only U.S. coaches cock their head to the side when they're watching their lifters train. And then I'm sure you see a bunch of neat things about technique that not a whole lot of other people see just because they don't take pictures of U.S. and international lifters.
Yeah, I think just it's a combination of A, seeing the lifts at full speed, and B, when I'm deciding which pictures to post, I scroll through hundreds. I've seen so many different lifts in person and in picture and video form that I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on good and bad technique and what people are doing right and doing wrong. I don't necessarily feel like I'd be a great coach per se, just because I don't always know exactly what to do to fix it. Like, I can see what someone's doing wrong, but I couldn't give them the right cue to fix it. But,
Well, are you a technique nerd? Do you like seeing different people lift with different styles? Do you have one particular lifter that you like taking pictures of internationally, and who you like watching their smooth technique or anything like that?
I think that there's no real like perfect technique. I mean, there's some things that I see that I'm like, oh, that's just like a gross error. I mean, there's no way to lift with the bar too far away from you that is good. But I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, the guy has like a little bit too much arm bend or, blah, 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 blah. It's like, I'm not that picky, but I do like to study and try and figure out what's right and wrong. In terms of like a certain person to photograph, I mean, just because someone has better or worse technique doesn't necessarily make them more enjoyable or less enjoyable to photograph. The things I like to photograph are just, big weights and obviously with the whole like, US or basically the drug world versus not the drug world, I kind of compare big weights differently. Mm-hmm. But I just like to take pictures of big weights, not necessarily individual technique or lifters.
Do you like taking pictures, when like artistic pictures such as someone getting chalk out of the bucket, getting ready for the lift, sitting there waiting?
Yeah, I do. I like to take pictures of people focusing. I focus hard if I can. I don't always have the ability to get those shots because to me there's a couple priorities. I mean, number one, I want to be at the right angle to the platform. Number two, I'm usually looking to be the right height above the platform. Like, I want to be maybe 12 inches above the platform where my camera is. And then after that, I'm usually looking to have a scoreboard or coach in the background, because those are the things that like make the picture good. And if I can get all that and I can get at a good angle to get like the chalking up shots and all the other stuff, then yeah, that's great. But I think in terms of artistic stuff, or non-lifting pictures, I think celebration pictures are probably the ones I really like to get.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of cool ones where the guys were jumping up in the air or they threw the weight down to the platform and the bar's jumping up. Those are pretty cool. So
Yeah, I love those shots, and those shots, you know, you can almost always get the chalking up ones. It seems like competition organizers like to screw with me and put the chalk on the wrong side or do this or do that. So, you know, they're facing away from me and it just isn't a good shot. But
Well, so I guess we didn't give that much of an introduction. So you're actually here, and you went to the Attitude Nation gym earlier today.
I did.
And you came to MDUSA to take some pictures this afternoon at the 4 o'clock training session. So yeah, I mean, you know, he was very generous. He brought us some pictures from the Arnold. A couple of us had pictures from the Arnold that he brought and gave to us, and so thank you for that.
No problem. I like to, whenever I go to gyms, if I have pictures of the lifters there, and I have the ability to get them printed, then I'll usually try and do that. I mean, I know that people, like having pictures, and for me, it's not that big a deal to go and get some done. So yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad you guys like them.
Yeah. So what brought you here? I know you're living in Philly. You didn't just come here for the weightlifting, but you were in Atlanta for a little bit.
Yeah, it was actually just coincidence. I had 2 weddings back-to-back weekends in Georgia, and I decided instead of flying home for a couple days that I would just stay in the area, and I thought it just made sense. It only took about 3.5 hours to drive up here, and I just had a couple days to kill, so I figured I'd do it.
So between wedding presents and hotels, you're going broke right now, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not that bad, but yeah, compared to staying in Atlanta for a week, it didn't really change the price of the trip.
Oh yeah, yeah. So in Atlanta, you were at Coffee's gym.
One day. The other day I went to a gym called CrossFit Johns Creek.
Okay.
And so I kind of just go around to different gyms depending on if I know someone there or not, and lift if I can and take pictures if not, and go from there.
Well, me and James actually went up to John's gym for the first time. We were on Weightlifting Talk. Maybe it was last Thursday, something like that. It's a nice gym. What'd you think about that?
I think it's great. I mean, he's got, a bunch of platforms, and it looks like he's set up to start having clients come in at this point. And I know they've got some clients, and they're in the initial stages of really getting their place going, but it's nice. I mean, they did a great job, painting it and getting some good equipment in there and everything. I mean, to me, it looks, like a pretty typical, CrossFit-y sort of gym, and it looks good.
Yeah, I like the paintings on that wall. I think they did a real good job there, and I guess they have the Olympic rings up in there too. You put up a picture on Facebook the other day about Coffee's gym, and you were like, "This is the biggest Coffee's gym has ever looked." I got a kick out of that. I actually have never been down to Coffee's gym to see how big it is, but that's all I hear all the time is
It's tiny. The reason it looks so big was because I was taking it with this fisheye lens that gets such a wide shot that it can make any room look gigantic. And I know Travis has been in Coffee's gym. He used to train there. Yeah. It's pretty tiny.
Atlanta's my stomping ground, so I grew up in Atlanta, and I actually didn't start training there until about 1.5 years before I moved here. But yeah, it's a great place to train, but it is really small. So on a Saturday, if you're the type of lifter who needs a lot of space and wants to go at very specific times, probably not the place for you. But if you just want to be around a lot of good people who love weightlifting in a small space, well, it's awesome.
Another thing to mention, I haven't seen their new space, but some of the lifters there were telling me that I think it's really soon, sometime in the next couple of weeks, maybe a month, they're moving to a bigger facility, basically right around the corner. So they will have more space, even though I'm not really sure how much more.
Well, you know what? We were talking about John's gym, and kind of a fun fact. You're not allowed to have the Olympic rings up on the wall, so they actually don't have those up. They were originally painting them, and then the USOC or the IOC or something, they told them they couldn't use the Olympic rings, so they painted I think slam bars and kill PRs with the red ring as the Attitude Nation one. So
yeah.
you got to be careful about using the Olympic rings. They make you pay for it.
They're strict, actually. I think, isn't that the reason that Chad Vaughn's site, like Ollie Athlete or Ole Athlete, whatever you want to call it, I think that's the reason that he had to shut it down. The IOC or USOC came after him. I'm not sure, but they're
crazy.
strict.
I had just a little website that I made for like school or something. I mean, like freshman year of college, we had to make a personal website. And of course, like weightlifting being a big part of my life, I had the Olympic rings up on there, and then I like manipulated the photo a little bit where it was colorized and like tilted the rings and whatnot. And literally the USOC contacted me and said, you have to take these rings down. And I didn't even get donations off the website. They were just saying that you could not market yourself as an Olympic hopeful, and you couldn't take donations. And they told me that I couldn't use the word Olympic in weightlifting.
So what do they do with the people that get the Olympic rings tattooed?
I don't know. I mean, I guess that could be awkward.
Well, they definitely don't try and stop it, because I know that's a major, major thing in swimming. Like every single swimmer gets the Olympic rings tattooed. I'm not sure about it. I'm guessing a lot of other sports too, but
I think James was being a little facetious. He likes to be under the radar with his sarcasm.
You can never tell when I'm joking. Well, somebody that I think Kendrick has a tattoo of the Olympic rings, but he went to the Olympics, so I guess it's all right.
I know, what's his name? Jim Schmitz used to have the Olympic rings in the Sports Palace logo, and they made him take it out. And he, was a I think 2-time Olympic coach, or I'm not even sure.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If I ever make the Olympics, I am getting the rings tattooed somewhere. I don't know where.
Forehead?
Well, no, it's not going to be that obvious or ridiculous, but I tell you what, Kendrick earned those Olympic rings,
Twice.
Twice, exactly, man. Fantastic lifter, so I don't blame him. I think that every Olympian should put the Olympic rings on their body somewhere. I mean, you can spend a whole lifetime trying to make it and never make it, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's tough. Really, really tough.
So yeah, what'd you think about MDUSA? We just finished our gym. We got a lot of new lifters in there, so it was actually pretty busy. And this is only the second day for some of the lifters. And what'd you think about the atmosphere and what the gym looked like?
I thought it was awesome. I mean, it's on a whole different level from kind of like the typical weightlifting gyms I've seen. I mean, there's obvious that there's just so much more money put into it to begin with. And second of all, I think it's great to have, the that number of platforms, and it seemed like it was pretty serious. People weren't just like walking around, just like chatting with each other. I see some gyms where people just, they're taking like 8-minute breaks in between their lifts, and just because they're chatting, and it seemed like a great atmosphere. I liked it.
Well, don't get me wrong. We do talk to Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoon. Those are serious sessions. We're going heavy. But the morning sessions and Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, there's a lot more joking around. There's a lot more camaraderie. And that's important in building a team. So, but yeah, I mean, definitely Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's pretty much business. We're trying to go heavy, hit PRs if we can. And, some people will be pitching a fit, including myself, if we're not hitting the weights we want to. And, some people will be, really excited, slamming the bars down, yelling, getting pumped up with the music because they're having a great day. And it just depends.
Yeah, I totally agree that there's a middle ground, but I think that just it was good to see when people are going for PRs that they're taking it seriously. And I recently saw some people going for PRs at a different gym, and the guy took about not even exaggerating, a 10-minute break, and he was dancing basically around, like probably 4 platforms down, and I was just like, you're obviously not taking this seriously. But
yep, I could see that being a problem. Dancing around. Yeah, something that's good about the gym too is like if someone's going for a PR, the rest of the gym will kind of stop their lift, pause, everybody watch, and give that little bit of extra motivation to the lifter going for that PR. And that atmosphere really makes a big difference. And I guess one of the reasons that the atmosphere is like that is just because like everybody really wants to be there. as opposed to somebody that's just kind of like, oh, I'm just kind of doing this because it's something to do. So,
well, yeah, it's people moving and uprooting their lives to be somewhere to compete in a sport that doesn't necessarily have, huge benefits, in the normal sense for most sports. I mean, it's definitely a big commitment. So,
sure, it's totally different here in the U.S. I mean, basically, I'm downgrading my life for a chance to compete in the Olympics and or be on the Pan Am and World team, so forth, to give myself an opportunity to have those chances. Whereas in a lot of countries, you're upgrading to get those opportunities. That's the reason why you would do it, is to upgrade your life. And so it's a different mentality here, and it's definitely interesting. So, you were talking about, we got a few new lifters, and you were saying that you didn't know them yet, but I think soon enough you're going to know a lot of these guys. There's Tim Rawlings. He's a 105. He just moved out. And there's an 85-kilo lifter, Trevor Britton, who has certainly been humbling me in the gym lately. He snatched 150 on Monday, that bastard.
Wow.
He's going to be good, and I'm going to have to set my game up for sure. And you're going to know his name pretty soon here, probably after nationals. So
yeah, I'm sure a couple of them. I know the viewers might not have a good picture of this, but I was kind of down at the end of one of the platforms because I was trying to get pictures of James, Travis, and Mike. But and a lot of the guys were down at the other end, so I couldn't see exactly what they had on the bar, but I could still see some of their positions, and some of them looked like they really, they're good. I mean, they're definitely going to be good if they put in the work.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, they just got into it and they move well. I think it's just more common for coaches to be teaching good technique. So the majority of coaches in U.S. are teaching better technique these days. And so the average person coming out of nowhere actually moves pretty well, whereas before that was not the case. There was a minority of people who knew how to snatch and clean and jerk properly. And the rest of them were just, it looked a little crazy.
I think it's great that something or an organization like MDUSA is willing to step up and provide some funding and some training resources and coaching and all this stuff to people who they know how to move, but they might they might need to get over that hump if they want to really compete on the national or international level that they wouldn't necessarily get where they were coming from.
Yeah, I was one of those that before I got on the team, my technique was rough, but I had that the strength background, and so it's kind of neat seeing someone come in the first day and still have some pretty good technique, because that wasn't the case for me. I was actually looking at some of my old videos, and I was like, wow, I had some terrible technique.
Well, I mean, I was even in the sport, and I had terrible technique for a long time. I think the sport's just grown. The people who are teaching correct technique are starting to win. Coaches like Don McCauley, who were shunned at one point, people are like, hey, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about. This catapult method is not as crazy as it sounded 7 years ago. People actually do bring the bar into their hips and throw the bar over their heads with their hips. And that was kind of a foreign concept that didn't make sense to me for a long time. It really didn't. So, it's interesting. What's next for you? You're traveling to nationals to take pictures?
Yeah, I'm going to be skipping a couple of meets coming up. This coming weekend is Masters, Pan Ams. I'm unfortunately missing that because of a wedding, and then I'm skipping actual Pan Ams in Venezuela just because it's difficult travel. So I'll be at nationals in about a month and a half.
Well, hopefully your friend did not listen to that because. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we actually have a couple of guys competing at Masters Pan Ams at my gym, Ultimate CrossFit. So we have Carter Lewis, who's a 77-kilo master lifter who just snatched 102 kilos the other day. And yeah, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, I know there's going to be some big lifts. A lot of people are gunning for this meet because it's one of the few meets where you can actually set, world record in Masters, which is pretty uncommon. It's, this meet and then the World Masters, which is coming up in Italy and a few others, but it's not something that comes up all the time. So a lot of people train hard for this meet.
So you said that John Brose is actually hoping to break a Masters World Record this weekend. Is that right?
I think so. He has a bit of an injury. I don't know how much he wants me to disclose about his numbers, so I won't say numbers, but I know he's not going to hit the exact numbers that he was hoping for. But he should. I think his injury is not affecting his snatch as much, so I think he'd like to hit a big snatch.
Well, that'd be awesome. I mean, that's something to look for, and obviously, he's pretty popular in the weightlifting community. His channel obviously gets a lot of hits, so I'm sure if he comes out with a video of that, a lot of people will be able to see it. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, his channel was, I remember when CrossFit this is going back to when I was getting into weightlifting, when CrossFit Las Vegas announced, John Brose is going to be doing a seminar. He's an Olympic lifting coach. He has these lifters. At the time, I had no idea what it meant that when someone was snatching 200, I was like, oh, that sounds like a lot of weight. I didn't really realize the magnitude of it. And then I started looking through his channel, started looking at more videos, and his channel was actually one of the things that made me really want to go to the seminar.
Well, you know what? I mean, in all seriousness, that YouTube channel went a long ways in promoting USA weightlifting, just in general. It got people into it. They saw Pat, doing these big snatches in training, and I mean, it was responsible for a lot of the growth in weightlifting. So, I mean, it got me back interested in weightlifting. I saw these guys doing crazy things, and I was like, I don't want to be sitting on the sidelines getting my ass kicked. I'm ready to go. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd make the argument that it is, and I'm not trying to put down MD USA or any of these other channels that put out weightlifting videos, but I think that John's channel, at least for a few years there, was definitely the best original content weightlifting channel on YouTube. I mean, it's just some of the lifts on there were just stunning, and you can argue all you want about drugs and all these other issues, but I mean, snatching 207 doesn't just happen. You can't just kind of shoot yourself full of something and just do it. So it was really just an awesome channel to pay attention to. And of course I love all the other channels. I mean, I think they're all great for the sport.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things. After I saw Pat back squat 800 pounds, I was still doing powerlifting, and my squat was my weak point. And that was one of the things that got me interested in doing weightlifting. And I was like, all right, I'll try a cycle of weightlifting out and see if it helps my squat out, because apparently these weightlifters can squat a lot. So
yeah,
that's what I really got started with. So that gave me the motivation to go to a little 6-week Olympic lifting course.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how all these weightlifting videos and channels grew. I mean, I used to work at CrossFit Atlanta, and we had a little team going, and we'd sit there, we'd watch the live stream at Cal Strength, and we'd watch the Bros videos and read. Bros used to put out these articles, and obviously has extreme views that just, I mean, the point of all of them are basically, you're a pussy, go train harder.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of stuff motivates the hell out of you, because you're reading it and you're like, man, those guys are probably training harder than me, so I better get on it. And regardless of all the arguments and whatever, it made me train hard, and I started hitting PRs again. So, I definitely love that channel.
Yeah, I agree. His thought process has really had a big influence on my training. I was telling James about this earlier when we were at the MD USA facility, that there was one day where I just had this bad fever. Like, my whole body felt achy. Everything felt terrible. I remember just Brose's words were just echoing in my head. Like, if you can move the bar, then go do the bar. And if you can do more than the bar, then do more than the bar. Just go in and do something. It's like, I know you're not going to, hit a PR every day, but just go in and do something. So I was like, all right, I should do what he says. I'm going to go in and do something. I went in, and I was only planning on doing maybe 60% of what I would normally do. And I got to 60%, and I actually felt pretty good. And then I ended up hitting a PR that day, and I had a 102 fever, and I felt terrible. I actually felt okay during the training session. An hour and a half later, after I got home, I could barely move off the couch. And it's unpredictable. You never know. You just have to go in and basically lift hard. And he taught me that for sure.
Yeah, I guess John Coffey actually told me this. I said, well, what's your view on weightlifting? Because, he thought I had some pretty extreme views on weightlifting but he did tell me this. He said, you need to train as heavy and hard as you can without getting injured. And if you can stay injury free and you're training hard, you're going to get better. And that's definitely true. Now my favorite thing that John Burroughs said, it was about if you went to jail, and they told you that they were going to execute your family if you didn't snatch X weight, 200 kilos, whatever. How hard would you lift and try to make that weight? And he said something along the lines of, would you snatch 3 times a week to try to get to that weight? No, I mean, you would probably work your ass off because you needed to get to that weight. And that was really motivating. And in real life, I don't think that you can max out multiple times a day, but certainly you can do more than 3 times a week. I mean, come on. And you can recover from more than that after you get the basics down. So, yeah, I mean, that really put it in perspective.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that that you shouldn't limit yourself and just be like, well, I don't know if I can max out. You should basically go as hard as you can as long as you're recovering. Now, if you're not recovering, then you might want to scale it back, or if you're starting to get some injuries or whatever, then you might want to scale it back. But I mean, if you're recovering and you're not getting injured, then just push it. I mean, I think it's dumb to just limit yourself because of the theoretical possibility that someone, thinks that maybe you could get injured or something. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and another thing too that I think about, like the story that Travis just told is, if you're in that situation, you're going to really attack the weights. You won't be afraid of the weights. A lot of times, like if you go up to a weight and you're intimidated by the weight, you'll miss it just because it's a certain weight, instead of going up there and not caring at all what the weight is and just going full throttle at that weight and just hitting it, just giving it a shot.
I tell you what, James missing 150 in the snatch behind the other day, and this Trevor Britton day one hitting 150. I tell you what, I have no respect for 150 anymore, and I was pretty happy about my PR last Wednesday until these guys did those things. So, you do have a lot less fear for the weight when you feel like, well, this freaking guy over here is doing it, so I'm going to do more. It's just, you lose your fear. So
another thing that Bros likes to do is he thinks that too many people are just scared of weights. Like they just, like US 85s just think of like climbing through the 50s in their snatch as some sort of like impossible mountaintop. And he just thinks, you just have to focus on like bigger numbers, and you have to not be scared of the weight at all. I'm not saying you guys are, but he just kind of thinks that you should just basically know the world records and that's it. And you should just be focused on just doing big weights and not being scared at all. And I think that's just a lot of it's just like a mental approach, like what James was saying. You just have to really, really attack it. And yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier said than done, but
Well, holy crap, James, can we go back and train?
Yeah, I want to attack 150 again. That was one of the lifts where a lot of times, like, I'll be surprised I make a lift sometimes, but that 150, I was attacking it. I was actually surprised that I missed it. So that, and just, if I think about that today, like, I was having a rough day today and I was cleaning 150 and I was like, man, I had some courage the other day. I was snatching this and almost made it when it was hard to clean and jerk today, just 'cause different day, different feeling. But, yeah, having that courage to go for a weight, makes a big difference.
So yeah, anything else in that? Tell us about your website, Facebook page, let the people know where they can see these pictures.
Well, almost all of the activity happens on the Facebook page, which I'm guessing a lot of the listeners of this show are probably aware of. But you just go into Facebook and type in Hookgrip. It should pop up with a little blue logo of the guy cleaning a weight. But almost all the activity happens there. There will eventually be an actual website which should have a lot of weightlifting information on it at hookgrip.com. There's a little mini website there just for now. I'm working regularly on getting that website up, but it's actually a really massive project that I'm undertaking, so it goes slowly sometimes. And you can also, if you're more of a Twitter person, you can just follow at Hookgrip, and all the Facebook posts get automatically posted on there.
Now, if someone wants to buy one of your pictures, do they just contact you personally on Facebook or on the Hookgrip page, or?
All of the above. They can email me at nat@hookgrip.com. They can, that's NAT@hookgrip.com. They can just message the Facebook page, which is what most people do. They can use the contact form on hookgrip.com, and yeah, if they're interested, I'm there to, help them out.
Well, yeah, thanks. Thanks for all that you do. And James, I mean, how are you feeling? When do we leave? We're going to be leaving in 9 days, huh, for the Pan Ams?
Yeah, I'm heading out on Friday. Not tomorrow, but the next week. So I'm actually leaving in 8 days, a little bit before you. I'm starting to get excited about it. I'm starting to think about approaching the platform. Starting to think like I'm on the platform at Pan Ams, going after my opening attempt. So starting to become real.
Yeah, I mean, I got the butterflies, and in a good way. If you're not nervous, you're usually not going to do well, in my opinion. That's how I feel anyways. So if I'm kind of indifferent about a meet, yeah, I'm going to the meet, I don't really feel nervous at all. I usually don't do as well. Are you feeling the butterflies?
They're starting to come on. I think it'll really start happening once I get on the plane to go there. And then I'll be like, oh, I'm going to compete.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so the travel is supposed to be a little crazy. They sent us an email. They said, you're going to experience some discomfort on this trip. And I don't know what the hell that means, but it scares me. And we have an 8-hour layover in Miami, which basically that pretty much means we're going to get about 3 hours of sleep. And then we fly to Caracas and have like a 6-hour layover, and then we fly to a little island. And this is probably part of the reason why you're not coming to take pictures, huh?
Yeah, the location and the country we're both not like high on my list of places I wanted to go. So yeah, definitely. And actually, when I was in Caracas, or when I thought it was going to be in Caracas, I was definitely not going. And when I found out it was moved to the island, I was considering it, but yeah, it didn't sound like the easiest trip to make. And I take a lot of crazy trips.
Yeah, I got a big book to read for that trip. Try to get my mind off of any stressful travel situations. Game of Thrones, good book.
Well, I heard the show's a little better. You might see some fun stuff. Anyways, check out the videos. Obviously, some of the highlights are Trevor's 150 snatch. You could see all the new people. Rebecca Gurdon got here, Travis Mash's athlete. She is a 75 kilo female. She just went crazy today. She hit a clean and jerk PR of 94, a front squat PR of 114, and Steeman Neiman Wick line. She's a 3-time school-age national champ that Glenn coaches. She hit several PRs a day, so I'm not going to go through everyone. But basically, watch out for the videos. Go to dozerstrength.com to check out my blog. And Mike Zell is going to start blogging on there soon as well. And James, you got anything?
Yeah, check out JamesTatumUSA.com.